everybody, I'm ArchyFantasies, and I am here with a very exciting video. As many of you may know, the newest season of America Unearthed started yesterday, and because I don't have cable, I have to wait a day to watch it online. So I've got it, I'm gonna watch it. I haven't seen any of it. I know what the topic's going to be because it's in the show title, so that was it took some of the mystery out of it, but you know, whatever. So I want to watch this while you all watch me, because I've been wanting to do a reaction video for a long time, and I figure, this one seems like a good one to do. I will not be able to show you much, if any, of the film, the show itself, because copyright. And yeah, I know that it might be covered under the Fair Use Act, but I'd rather just not do that. And you're not gonna see me watch the entire video because I don't know why you want to do that. It's like 42 minutes long. So probably what I'll do is just cut out the highlights, because if it's like the last few seasons, there will be plenty of opportunities to cut things out. What I am going to do is have the volume up all the way, so hopefully you'll be able to hear it, and so you can at least hear what's going on in the clips, so that you will understand why I'm making the faces I make, because I am very expressive, I've been told. I think people lie. Anyway, we'll probably also take a little bit longer to get through this in general, just because like I can never watch one of these all the way through. I always have to stop at some point, because well, you'll see when we get into it, but there's gonna be parts where it's just like you will need an explanation for things. And I've got a hair on my eye, there we go. And so I'm gonna try to explain things as we go. This is not my usual, okay, seriously, hair, bam. This is not my usual watch through of these. I usually watch them 2 or 3 times before I end up writing a blog post about them, just because I like to watch them once and just kind of get a raw reaction, which is what you guys are going to be seeing. And then I go back through them and watch them again, and that's usually when I take down like my hardcore notes and I look up the things that I need to look up. There's always something I need to look up or refresh myself on, or check my, well, you can't see my library because it's all packed. We're moving in a week, so that's why everything's in utter chaos, because I am moving. And yeah, so that was probably more information than you wanted, but hey, ArchyFantasies Studios is moving. Anyway, I'm not gonna show you guys when I go and take notes on it, because that can take me, God, 2 hours or more, just because I'm very thorough. At least I like to think I'm thorough, and I like to be able to cite my sources and double check and make sure that my sources are actually legit, and that takes time. And the fun part about, you know, a show like America Unearthed is they've got a team of people that do all that for them. Supposedly they've got people that they hire to be fact checkers and people they hire to be experts, and you know, they've got Scott Walter that, you know, just parades around and like he's the TV personality, but I don't think he does all of the work behind the scenes himself. I do. So, you know, you guys might see this video before the blog post comes out. My statements during the first watching may not be my final statements. Just FYI, if you watch the video and then go read the post later, you know, there might be some things that I have walked back, because sometimes they'll say something early in the show and I'll be like, oh, that's utter bullshit, and then later on in the day or later on I will look it up and I'm like, oh, okay, well, no, actually, you know, there was a foot to stand on there. Or I'll be like, I don't know, that sounds reasonable, maybe, I don't know, and then I look it up and I find out that it is absolute crap, and then I have to go and say, this is absolute crap. Since nobody really ever sees that process, it's usually just, you know, the final blog post. So I thought this might be fun for people. Hopefully it'll be fun for me. I actually enjoy these shows most of the time. Most of the time I really enjoy these shows, and I really enjoy kind of the fantasy behind them and the alternate reality that is required for these videos to, the content in these types of videos to be authentic. I like doing the mental exercise and the asking the what if and maybes and all that. I like that stuff. I think it's good for your brain. I think it's good for your imagination. I think it's good for you as a person to, you know, keep that little spark of fantasy alive. That doesn't mean that as a professional, I am a professional archaeologist. I have been for many years. I will have a master's degree next year, so in case you're wondering what my credentials are, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to archaeology. And, you know, as a professional, my opinions as a person who loves fantasy is not going to be the same as my professional archaeological opinion, because when I have my professional archaeology hat on, facts are facts, and that's just the way it is. And facts, theory can change a lot. And so what Walter and his compatriots like to present as facts are often, what do you call them? Presumptions, or just ideas. An idea is a much better way of describing it than a theory, because theories often have actual facts that back them up. A lot of the claims that Walter and his cohorts come up with, usually they have what they think are facts, and this is a whole other discussion we could have eventually about, you know, what is and isn't an actual fact. But usually they're just kind of backed up with neat ideas, or, you know, a concept, or a misunderstanding of a concept. Usually it's a misunderstanding of a concept. So that kind of stuff. We'll just stick with the word idea. Walter has a lot of ideas. We were going to examine them. I'm going to try to be nice-ish in this video, just because, you know, there's an off chance that the man in question may end up watching this video. I don't want him to think I'm on his side, because I'm probably not. But at the same time, you know, this is what I would say to pretty much anybody I was having a face-to-face conversation with and they brought this kind of stuff up. So, you know, this is me, Ron, honestly, watching a video, asking questions, pointing out inconsistencies. I did have a Twitter bet that he's going to say hooked X at least 10 times, so maybe I'll keep a running count of how many times I hear the word hooked X, because we are talking about Vikings in the American desert. Did you know? I mean, because we learned in the last season of America's Lost Vikings that supposedly the Vikings made it all the way to Alaska using dog sleds, because we have so many Viking dog sleds that we have found throughout Alaska and Canada, and that is absolute sarcasm if you can't tell. But anyway, if we have one show saying that the Vikings made it all the way to Alaska, then why wouldn't they head straight for the desert? Because, you know, at least in Alaska, the weather would be something they're accustomed to, because the Vikings are known for their hardy cold winter clothing and their ability to live in, you know, hot or cold weather. They are the Northmen for a reason. The desert's another story, so maybe there's a reason why we can't find much of the Vikings in the desert, probably because, well, they never went there, or maybe when they got there, they were like, screw this, it's hot, let's go, and they all left. There's a reason I don't live in the desert. I'm just saying. So, let's get into the show, and I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope it's entertaining, and please like and subscribe and comment and all that stuff you're supposed to do and say on social media. Yeah, so let's get on with the show. Alright, everybody, so here we are. We are watching America Unearthed, Season 4, Episode 1, Vikings in the Desert. And we are starting off in Imperial, California in 1907, because if you've ever watched the show, you know that America Unearthed likes to start off with a creepy little video, usually at the beginning of every episode, normally looking something like it's out of a short horror film, complete with horror film music. I am always confused as to why every episode of this, I've watched 3 seasons of this show now. Every episode starts off with some kind of weird, creepy horror film, short film that is supposed to set up the idea for the rest of the show. Like, I get that part. I just don't understand why it's always like some kind of horror movie. Anyway, on we go. Hopefully you can all hear that. So we got a kid feeding pigs, a nice young man in a pig pen, and he has suddenly discovered... That makes no sense. Okay. Yeah, but I'm confused too. By the way, your hair is fabulous. He's now looking at a tree. More tree branches and bark. Like a wooden fence. Ah, so we're gonna do the whole Viking ship in the desert thing. Yeah.
My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist.
What's up, Scott?
There's a hidden history in this country that nobody knows about. There are pyramids here,
There's
chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over this country. We're going to investigate these artifacts.
I mean, there are these things in the Americas. We do have pyramids in South America. They are Mayan. They don't look like Egyptian pyramids. They are called pyramids because of the pyramidal shape of the structures. Sure, there are inscriptions. We call them petroglyphs. And yeah, and there's tombs, again, for early or ancient Native American peoples. I forget what else he claims is here. Chambers. Yeah, I'm sure there's some chambers. I've seen the chambers. That was my cell phone, sorry. I've seen the chambers that he goes on about. They're settler chambers. They're from early settlers. They're cold storage, or they're where you get water, or anyway. Walter's not wrong that these things exist in America. Walter's wrong in what he associates them with. Also, Walter has this thing where he just completely ignores the fact that there are Native Americans, and have been Native Americans, in America forever. Or, you know, they were the first peoples. They're called that for a reason. Walter likes to ignore that and likes to reassign Native American culture and Native American traditions and things like that to what we like to call transoceanic travelers. And that's not a real thing. But Walter likes to work really, really, really hard at shoehorning these things together because it's part of Walter's overarching story that there were Europeans in America way, way, way back. And so he kind of waffles every now and then between there were Europeans here before there were Native Americans, and there were Native Americans, but they didn't have any kind of culture or civilization until the white people got here. So that's kind of the two stories that we usually get. I'm interested to see, I'm actually really interested to see if he tries to tie the supposed Viking ship that's in the middle of the desert, which, by the way, there isn't one, and tries to tie that into the Templars, because Walter's been on Twitter in the past month or two actually stating that he thinks the Vikings that made it to America, because he also believes that the Kensington Runestone is real, but he told me actually on Twitter that the Templars that made it to America, or the Vikings that made it to America to create the Kensington Runestone, are Irish Viking Templars. And so it's not just the Vikings made it to America, it's that they were also Templars, which in Walter's world are also Freemasons, modern day Freemasons. I think everyone in my family would be rather, well, I know they're amused by that, actually. I've told that to my grandfather a few times, and he thinks it's funny. They're starting off in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and it's snowing. Doesn't it just always snow in Minnesota? Isn't it just like constantly always snowing? It's like the middle of summer and it's snowing. He's gotten one of his staged emails. It has some pictures of some interesting artifacts.
Hello, is this Harry Atkins?
Speaking.
Hi, Harry. This is Scott Wolter. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Say, I was just looking at your email, and these artifacts are very intriguing. I've looked at Viking artifacts before, but never Viking artifacts found in Arizona. I'd really be interested in taking a look at them. Is that possible?
I think he has behind his desk, where he's taking these obviously staged emails and phone calls. I think he has a replica of the Kensington runestone behind glass. I feel like he's at like a museum display, and he's got, on the one hand, as goofy as that is, I think it's kind of cool. Not gonna lie. I would not be adverse to having a display case behind me at all times of various fake artifacts that I have examined over the years. I think that would be really kind of fun, actually. We're at Sky Ranch Lodge in Sedona, Arizona. Arizona is
The Vikings
beautiful,
were
by
some
the
of the
way.
fiercest warriors of all time. Hailing from Scandinavia,
Do you know what else the Vikings were? Okay, first off, the Vikings were nothing. The Viking, to go a Viking, is a verb, not a noun. We've made it a noun. It's not a noun. It's a verb. Anyway, you know what else the Norse, who are also the Vikings, are really, really well known for? Actually, better known for than the freaking Vikings? Trade, okay? They're masters at trade. They masters and mistresses, by the way, of trade. They were fantastic craftsmen. They built fucking, oh god, I just, ugh.
If Harry Atkins' dad really has authentic Viking artifacts found in Arizona, it could be the first step in figuring out if this is one place they settled.
Okay. Pappy Atkins may have authentic Viking artifacts. He may. The caveat in this sentence is found in Arizona, implying that they were in Arizona, the artifacts, before white people? Modern white people, I guess? The implication is that these were somehow dug up in Arizona. There is a way that you could have authentic Viking artifacts in Arizona, and that they were not brought there by the Vikings, that they were brought there by whoever it is that has them, or brought there by someone else. I mean, there are countless artifacts that are discovered because people brought them back with them from going abroad. They were sold illegally. There's various different ways to get real artifacts into the United States. And I can already guarantee you there's going to be no context to these artifacts. So there's going to be no way to prove that these artifacts were brought up out of the ground in Arizona and not brought into Arizona somehow. I will be very surprised, honestly, if there's any kind of reliable record of where these artifacts came from.
Things you don't see too often. Viking artifacts that your father found?
Well, my dad actually didn't find them. He owned an antique shop and an art gallery. A woman came to him and said, "Hey, I found these things out on the desert around Sedona out hiking, and you're into old things here, why don't you take them?"
I didn't even take long. That's like, what, another minute after I had my rant?
And he was very intrigued, and she told him, "Well, I found them in what looked like a rotted pair of saddlebags."
And now we have to go to Slide Rock State Park, which Which is a really high altitude, by the way.
A Viking find out here would be unprecedented.
Wow.
That's true.
The Viking sagas talk about a place called Vinland. Vinland has never been conclusively identified. They know it's in North.
I can't do this. Okay, so Vinland. Yeah, Vinland. We just spent 6 episodes of America's Lost Vikings pretty much establishing that Vinland is in the New Englandish and upper part of Canada. I mean, if it exists. Which, I mean, I'm willing to believe it exists. Sure. You know? Is it Arizona? There are no grapes. There's no sea access. I mean, Arizona's kind of like, we call it landlocked. Yeah. Arizona in no way matches any of the descriptions of Vinland in the sagas, if we're going to pretend like the sagas are 100% accurate historical documents, which they are not. So, anyway. So far, we have just flat out accepted that these Viking artifacts are indeed Viking and artifacts, and that they are native-ish to Arizona. And now we are starting the idea that Arizona is somehow connected to the Vinland sagas, because I know when I've read them, there were several passages that talked about a vast desert of hills and mountains with no fucking water. Excuse me, no water. That's also sarcasm. Anyway, on we go.
America came into are genuine. Maybe Vinland is out here.
Why would you even go there? Like, why are you even trying to set that argument up? It makes no freaking sense.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi,
Hi,
nice to meet
Bonnie.
you, Scott.
Apparently, you're the one that knows where these almost exactly.
Wow.
Like this guy
look
right
at
here.
that.
Now, here's an interesting artifact. That is a brooch that was worn by Viking-age women.
That
No,
one
it's
right
not.
there looks a lot like this one.
No, it
You
really
know what?
doesn't.
Actually, it does. You're right.
Did Vikings bring their
No.
women along on these journeys?
The Viking sagas talk about women coming over here to the New World.
Well, I mean, they talk about it, but in this instance, clearly, even though we're using the sagas as a factual historical document, even though they mention women, I mean, that's just a bridge too far. Let's just cut that one down right now. Viking women aren't real. Just totally kidding.
I explained to Harry and Bonnie that in ancient times, much of the arid Southwest was actually a lake, and a giant lake at that, called Lake Kawia. Today, all that's left is the Salton Sea in California's Imperial and Coachella valleys. The Vikings, who we know were sailing west looking for new lands to settle, could have gotten to this part of the country by coming through the Northwest Passage, around Alaska, down the coast of California, around Baja, into the Gulf of California, and then straight up into the U.S.
I'm gonna put a picture of that map up because literally they, if this were anywhere near true, would have sailed all the way around Europe, or the Europe part of Eurasia. They would have sailed across and through the Northwest Passage, which we established in America's Lost Vikings would not have been possible because of the ice. Then they would have gone around Alaska. This is sailing, by the way. Around Alaska, which I guess maybe they picked up the guys in the dog sleds while they were there. Back down, all the way down the North American coast. A little bit into Mexico, into the South American coast. Back up into California-y area to get to this place. Because, sure,
Sedona is still a ways from the edge of the ancient lake, but the Vikings could have traveled here on foot in search of a place to settle.
because settling on the lake that they just sailed around the world to get to would have made no sense. Absolutely none. Why? Why would you settle where there's a known water source?
Another possibility is that these artifacts were collected by somebody within the last 150 years, and they were brought over maybe with immigrants from Scandinavia.
Possibly.
Starting in...
So, hey everyone, as you can see, this is post-filming because I'm au natural. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you, I'm editing this as we go. It's already at 25 minutes. I really didn't mean for it to be that long, but I don't know, there's just a lot here. It's hard not to have a lot of material when you're reacting to this stuff. So I've decided to break this up into 2 parts. So I've kind of stopped it at the 25-minute mark, and I'll put the other part up as a part 2, just so, you know, you guys don't have to, like, kill yourselves watching me watch a video that pretty much killed me. Anyway. So yeah, so this is the end of the first part. Keep an eye out for part 2. It should be up here as well. And I don't know, let me know what you guys think. It's my first reaction to something, and I don't know, let me know what you think. Anyway, like, subscribe, and share. Talk to you guys later. Bye.